So Palace at home, after saying that he's returned the beast, Smith Rowe saying he recently said, I'm fit enough to play. I would like to see Rice, Emile, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. I'm not saying it's the answer, but what I'm saying is the answer hasn't been found already.
If you could get him fit and play him in midfield and just say to him, just give me 16 games and we'll let you go. You owe us. I say, you owe this club.
I agree, that's all I was saying.
There's a lot of football to be played, man. If there's anything that the end of last season should have taught us is that it's not done until it's done.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Supporters Club. Hopefully you've checked out the last vid because that's the start of this one. This is part 2, so make sure you go check out part 1 if you haven't already. We discuss what's gone wrong, and by we, I mean me, Shuroi, and Mr. Chris Hudson. Make sure you show them some love too. At Shuroi's Voices, his channel. But we're going to move on to part 2. We've discussed what's gone wrong or what we think's gone wrong. Hopefully you've discussed it in the comment section. Now we're gonna go through how we think we can fix this, or how we think Arteta can fix this, sorry. Not that we're professionals or anything, but we're Arsenal fans. We watch the club week in, week out, 90 minutes, 100 minutes, and we love the club. Give us your suggestions and thoughts below as well. Hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed. Welcoming back Shuroi. I say welcoming back, we were just, the last show finished 3 minutes ago. Not to you guys and girls out there, but welcome back Shuroi, welcome back Chris Hudson, and let's move straight into it. I mean, Shuroi, we left you on your last point regarding Arsenal and it's not over. Looking at fans that have been very definitive with their judgments so early in the season. But the question from them will be, how does he fix it? Do you believe he can fix it? And what would be the bare minimum come the end of the season? But let me just go back to you as you was flowing with the conversation and ask first and foremost, what needs to change?
The obvious one that everyone's been talking about is the striker situation. Yeah, so I'll talk about that for a minute. With the striker situation, I think we all sat here and said, if you're in with a shot of winning the title come January, and I think we all put the within 5 points of top, roughly.
Max.
Roughly, and that's basically where we are.
Yeah.
Do you then go hell for leather to try and bring in a striker in January, or do you still wait for the right guy in the summer?
What do you do?
Right now, I bring that striker in.
If that striker's Tony? Because, I mean, in terms of options, I'm saying him because he seems like he'd be an option at the right price for Brentford.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the right price for us when you hear some of the figures going. But in all likelihood, that seems like the striker that would be most available, that we know most of. So would you take that risk for Tony? Do you think Tony would be could be the decisive factor between us getting back those 5 points and finishing the league top? Or
yeah, it could be, because again, Jesus is injured, and in the event that Jesus is injured, ultimately, what are we doing? We're playing with Eddie Nketiah or Kai Havertz down the middle, right? So that ultimately, if those are the options and Jesus' injuries persist, this might sound a bit defeatist, but you're then not really in a title race for me. You're probably in a top 4 battle.
What, with Havertz and Eddie?
Yeah.
With defeatist? That's that's real. You're being real.
Fine.
We ain't winning no league with Havertz and Eddie up front. I'll be real.
So for me, you have to address that.
Yeah.
But it's also it's a bit simplistic to say you bring in that striker and suddenly Martinelli bangs again, and Odegaard bangs again, and Saka bangs again. There has to be the element of, yes, we need to get the recruitment right, but we also need to address what's going on elsewhere to bring them back up. Because even last year, they were all at that level, but we still felt as though we needed the striker. We still felt as though we were a bit light in other areas of the pitch. So that has to be the bare minimum now. And don't forget, last year we were only up against one team, right? We're up against more than one team this year.
Yeah,
we're up against more than one team this year. So yes, recruitment is a massive thing. But I also do want to look at, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say, I do want to look at what you think Arteta can or has to do to ensure that everyone else lifts. Is it a shift back to old tactics? Is it bringing in youth? Is it what do we need to do to change the way in which this team is operating and this team is feeling right now?
The trouble is, I don't want to be boring. I mean, I'd love to go out and buy Tony. I'll buy him like that. Like FFP.
Yeah, but talk to me, Chris. I mean, there are solutions there in terms of we've got players. We've talked about he doesn't trust a few. We've talked about a few
during this little break. He might have to come up with some other plan. That's what perhaps for once he's, instead of giving him more money, perhaps he's going to have to come up with something with the players he's got.
Says on the I forgot what show it was. It might have been the watch along for the last game against Liverpool. Cecil said, you know, Arteta might need to call the Kroenkes, and I turned to him, and you don't know me and what I think about the Kroenkes, and I said, listen, if I'm actually standing and I receive a call from Arteta about he needs money, I'm gonna ask him, what about your guy Havertz, 65 million? I'm gonna ask him, didn't you tell me you wanted Reece on 100k or Eddie on 100k? These players are all fit, they're all ready. I mean, you're asking for 100 mil. Why? What have you? So for once, I'd love to put everything back on them because I don't like them one bit. They haven't proven anything otherwise yet for me. Even though for the last 2 years, I look at them and say, you've done your job. I can't say Arteta can call them and ask for anything. I think he needs to look at Eddie's situation and make the right decision, not make a decision, make the right decision. Emile Smith-Rowe, if you don't like him,
sell him.
Number one, why did you give the 10 away? We know why, but sell him. I mean, El Nene got a year extension on his contract. I mean, it's hard to sell someone like that. But I mean, he's left himself with all the players that he's, you know, wanted or he's maintained faith and trust in over the years. If I'm Kroenke, I'm turning to him and saying, mate, you're going to have to get rid of a few of those if you want Tony, you know, if you want anyone in.
Okay, so all right, so let's say that is the position, yeah? And we're doing no business in January. We're not.
I don't think we are.
Okay,
I don't think we
fine.
are.
So operate.
Do you think we are? And I mean, bad business, I mean, we might get a loan in. You know them silly loans we do sometimes. But
you know why I can't sit here now with any faith and think we will? Again, I'll go back to my first supporters club. We were talking about Vlahovic. Nothing happens. I'm looking at last January.
Mudryk Caicedo.
There you go. And there was talk of maybe Douglas Luiz. Doesn't happen, right? And I know we bring in Trossard and we bring in Set, but it's definitely not the players that were Arteta's first choice, and they're not the players to get us over the line. So I can't sit here with any confidence and say it's going to happen now. But then what do you do? Is it a tactical shift now? Does it have to be a tactical shift?
Yeah.
Do we have to change personnel in certain key positions? That's what I'm trying to say. Me personally, we've had a few bad results, but the preceding however many, of course there were some anomalies along the way, but on the whole I was quite happy with what I saw. Yeah, it wasn't like jumping out of your chair because of a bunch of wonder goal, but it was getting the job done.
Yeah.
You had what you needed there. You need to restore that balance, restore that confidence, whatever it might be. But that is where, as a manager, with all of the things we saw behind the scenes in terms of getting players in the right frame of mind and all your little tricks, that's where you earn your money. You can't tell me that Arsenal Football Club don't have incredible sports psychologists or whatever, if we're talking about things like confidence and so forth. That's where they earn their money. Yeah. They've gone on a break to Dubai, they're enjoying the weather, all of that. That's where you reset. All of these things, they have to come back and hit the ground running, because as much as I say we can fix it, if we don't fix it almost instantaneously, we're done.
Yeah, that's exactly a couple of...
The margin for error is very small now.
Look at the next 4 fixtures. You got Palace.
Yeah.
Then you got another long break, another 10-day break to the 30th.
Oh, that's the FA Cup fourth line that we missed, yeah.
So we got another break.
The Palace, then Forest on a
On the
Tuesday
30th,
night.
yeah. And then it's
Liverpool.
And West Ham. So I'm looking at those 4 games.
We need to win those 4 games.
All 4.
Yeah, you have to beat Liverpool when they come to the Emirates.
We need to win those 4 games.
And if I'm not mistaken, Man City still have to go to Anfield.
Yep.
Look, there's a lot of football to be played, man. If there's anything that the end of last season should have taught us, is that it's not done until it's done. And there is a lot of football to be played. The only difference is everyone looks at Man City and says, you've got an elite manager, you've done it before, so we have faith in you. Everyone looks at Liverpool and says, looking at where you were last year, basically you don't have any right to be doing what you're doing this year. We should have been next in line, but because you've got an elite manager, you now look like you're next in line. People look at us and our track record, and depending on how you want to spin it, it's got yourself into a top 4 race, fell short, got yourself into a title race, fell short. But we were hearing a lot of noises about these players now know what it feels like to be going for something and feeling the pain of missing out on it, and we're not necessarily going to let it happen again. Show me.
Yeah, do the walk.
Raise your level.
Yeah.
Raise your level. In another way to look at things differently in terms of what we can do moving forward, let's look at the resources, the players that we do have. Would you change up anything, Chris, moving forward? For example, on the first show we done, I mentioned that I wouldn't mind seeing a Nwaneri or a Lewis Skelly start a game for us. But even before that, My idea this summer when we bought Rice, and I looked at the numbers, and listen, he was never a party for me, but I looked at Rice and I knew what he was bringing. He was a destroyer. He was so much better in those aspects than any of our midfielders was. So I just thought to myself, I think the long-term vision is Rice behind two fluid, creative players. And then we bought Havertz.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd like to see Rice, Odegaard, Emile, Smith Rowe now, because there is no competition left for us to test him. So Palace at home, after saying that he's returned the beast, Smith Rowe saying he recently said, I'm fit enough to play. I would like to see Rice, Emile, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. I'm not saying it's the answer, but what I'm saying is the answer hasn't been found already. So I'd like to see that change, and Jesus up top, the normal around with
But
what
the
we
thing
have.
is, where are we with Partey? Does he?
God knows. I mean, Ghana didn't select him.
Apparently he's gone to Dubai, but I don't even know if that's just because they're all getting some sun and they want the whole
If
team
you
to
could
be
get
together.
him fit and play him in midfield and just say to him, just give me 16 games and we'll let you go. You owe us. I'll say, you owe this club
I
16
agree.
games.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah. We need a bit of luck there.
Yeah, and
Because he's a game
I'll
changer.
stop using Janino. Not like
Jorginho.
Yeah, he's got to play more.
Yeah, he looked good. Every time he's played, he's
He's
looked good.
never
to be honest
let
with
us
you.
down.
But out of the backups we have in midfield, he is the one that has
Except
performed
for
the best.
Tottenham at home this season when he let the ball go. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
not an
Vieira
easy
when he
one
was
to
fit.
let him off with, but we'll have to.
Yeah, my God. Vieira, when he was fit, had some decent cameos
not
as
for me,
well.
mate.
He's maybe not the answer, but he had some decent cameos. But he's an option that we don't have. We do have injuries, but I think out of all of the alternatives, that has to be the
It's
one.
Emile Smith Rowe. That is
That
the
has
one.
to be
Innit? I
the one.
can't think of anything else that
I
makes
totally
sense.
agree with that too.
And also because we've seen what the guy can do. We haven't seen it in recent history, but that's also because he's been injured, and when he's been fit, he hasn't necessarily had the opportunity. A lot of people say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but the way that everyone's talking about the season, it's broke, so fix it.
And what are you going to do about the fullback situation, the left back?
There's a lot of talk that we're interested in left back. I mean, I've heard a lot about Sousa. I don't know if he's the one, but
I think Walters is more ahead
I
of
don't
him.
mind testing with the left back situation. I do kind of. That's where, if I'm in a debate with someone, I wouldn't let anyone get onto Mikel Arteta about a left back situation, because I think that the plan was Timber comes in. So I think Arteta actually saw last season with Zinchenko and Ramsdale at times that they can't be trusted for 90 minutes, 38 games in a season. So Timber was meant to be the guy. Tomiyasu even played ahead of him until he got injured. So really and truly, Zinchenko became essentially third choice left back, third choice. And now he's injured. So with the left back situation, I do feel for him, but I don't want us to go in the market and use resources there when I think there's other areas we need it more in.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Especially because we've been scarred by going into the market and addressing positions that we didn't necessarily feel we had to address, right?
Yeah.
So if there's, looking at recruitment, if there's two positions that you think we absolutely have to address to have any chance of winning this league, what are they?
Striker and 8.
Striker and 8, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, again, going back to what you said, hasn't he had enough time and money in the 8?
100%.
Yeah?
You could argue the same with keepers. He's got 6 keepers over the time he's been at the club.
Yeah.
6 keepers have come in. Actually, this leads me on. Well, I should have maybe brought this on the next point. We hear a lot about Phazes.
Yeah.
When I look at his transfer dealings, it looks like goalkeeper he's had various stabs at, and he seemed happy enough going in with Raya this season, with Ramsdale on a new contract. Defensively, Saliba comes back, Gabriel's his signing, Zinchenko's his signing, Timber, Tomiyasu's his signing, Ben White. He's got his defense. Midfield, he added 2 additions this summer on top of Jorginho having already come in, Partey being his signing, Odegaard being his signing. Midfield, it's only really the attack where 2 players have come in through the academy. One has come in, Jesus, the addition from City, and he hasn't brought in anything else. So I think all this phase stuff, trust the process, that's all nonsense. Yeah. But do you think that ties into what, I don't even know if he mentioned the phases or Ed or whoever mentioned, do you think that ties in with the last step of this whole thing was meant to be addition to the forward line, maybe this summer coming? But it's catching us cold 6 months earlier.
I don't know what phase we're in, but I've lost.
Nor do I, mate. But if 5's not upon us now, then I don't know how many years each phase is.
I mean, yeah, okay, but a lot of that, we hear this a lot, right?
Or do you think it's negligence from him that he's been a lot slower with it and started at the goalkeeper and worked his way forward? Do you think he could have juggled?
We wanted Vlahovic, didn't he? Big time.
Yeah, but then how do you, Chris, this is my point. How do you go from Vlahovic profile to 6 months later bringing in Jesus and then 18 months later not even entertaining another striker?
Yeah.
Vlahovic is a completely different striker to Jesus. So that's why I never believed the Vlahovic stuff, because we haven't proven that we was ever in for someone like that.
I know. But a lot of it goes back to whenever anyone talks about Arteta's recruitment, generally, and this is probably the Twitter mafia that say this more than Arteta himself, but but he's not the right guy. It has to be the right guy, the long-term signing. It can't be the panic buy.
Yeah.
It can't be a stopgap, whatever it is. But then you look at some of these transfers. Was Nuno Tavares the right guy? Was Sambi Lokonga the right guy? Was Willian the right guy?
I'll give Vieira as well now.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's not necessarily that he only brings in players that he thinks are definitively the right guy. He does take a punt on some. The problem he has is the striker position, given the fact that there aren't that many strikers around and the value that they go for.
But you see on them punts, like they've been relatively cheap punts. 8 million Tavares, I think 16-21 Lokonga. The punt he's taken this summer, 65 M's, that's where push comes to shove now. It's no longer a punt. It's a get this right, or we've potentially taken a step back. And by a step back, I mean a step back a year, maybe two, with the supposed contract we've given him.
I get that. But he has also had some punts that were relatively big money that were decent, right? When Aaron Ramsdale came in, quite expensive for a goalkeeper. Everyone's talking about how often he's been relegated. That's a punt, and to an extent, look, that worked. What he's made of that situation now is neither here nor there. When he brought that player in, that worked. Ben White, how much did we pay for him?
50.
Everyone's looking around. That's a relatively big money punt.
Odegaard, peanuts.
Odegaard, peanuts. But again, what happens?
Punt on a player that people thought he's not going to live up to his potential.
There you go.
With Odegaard. That's why we actually swooped in and got him, because a lot of people dismissed him as, he was a wonder kid that's not going to make it. That's
what I mean. So there have been some hits, there have been some misses, but taking a punt on a striker now, when there aren't that many around, is that a risk that you think he ought to take? The only reason I say that he almost has to and his hand has been forced now is because these options that we have up front, taking into account Jesus' injury, that man, they're not good enough to win you a league, and they do put you in a top four problem.
So you asked about the two. I said striker and an 8. Chris, what did you answer when?
Striker.
If it's a second position, what would it be?
Well, I'd say left back, but I know I've got Timber coming through the tracks.
Yeah. I get you. What would be yours then? Because you asked the question.
It has to be a striker and an 8, or at the very least a striker and a midfielder, so that you could perhaps move someone that you otherwise might have played in the 6 into the 8.
Yep.
Purely because those are the only areas where squad aside for a minute, those are the areas where I actually look at our first 11 and say we haven't quite answered those two. The frustration lies with the fact that we've been saying that for about 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. But again, we're looking, that's unrealistic in this window. And we're meant to be talking about what we can do to fix this going forward, right?
And I'll see the player we're always linked with is Neto. I wouldn't touch him, but I
fitness
love
concerns.
The injury problems.
Fitness concerns. But going back to should we have got Maddison, one of the things I always said is that guy's injury record is bad. He's been out for a while now, and that's come to fruition.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he basically did what everyone thought he would do. Incredible when you got him, but how long have you got him? Yeah?
That's fair.
I know he's back in training now. It might come back and bite me in the arse. He could have a storming second half of the season, and he could be the difference maker. But I think the thing that he has to do to get it right, honestly, we have to elevate. We have to elevate what we have. And I know it's very much what he says, and I know it's frustrating for a lot of people to hear, but if we don't do that, you can bring in the striker and the 8. You're not getting anywhere. Whatever he has to do, he has to earn his money. Ben White, if he's going to be the right back, has to be elevating his performance level again. If you've got Ramsdale and Raya, you've got 2 decent goalkeepers, in my opinion. You've got to make sure they're on it. If you've got Martinelli and Trossard, if you've got Saka and Nelson, you've got to make sure that they elevate. If you've got Declan Rice and you've got Kai Havertz, I'm not saying Kai Havertz is the answer, but you've got to get him at a base level where we're confident in playing him. You've made your bed now. You've made your bed. This is where, as a manager, you earn your money. And to be honest with you, I think managers like Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola have what it takes to elevate those players.
Yeah.
I think they have what it takes to elevate them and get them so fired up because of historic failings or remind them of their potential and what they have done, that they do come out in the second half of the season and put that sort of a run together. Why do I say that? I've seen him do it with players in the second half of the season.
Yeah,
I've seen Pep do that. I've seen Klopp do that. Mikel, over to you, man. I know it's your first job, but you've been here for a few years now.
The bottom line is, if he hadn't spent the 65 million on Havertz, we'd have a bit of manoeuvrability and we'd be able to go and buy a striker.
Well, there are players that we might be able to shift though if he doesn't trust them and he has lost faith in them and he isn't going to play them.
But you've got to find buyers for them. Palace want Nketiah.
Yeah.
Supposedly, yeah.
You know.
Well, how much do we get for him? I know a lot of people are talking about 30, 40. I'd be surprised at 20, 25, but that is one player that seems to be getting some sort of interest. I want to ask you both, sitting here now, 20 games in, out of the FA Cup, do you think we get one of these over the line? Premier League or Champions League this year? Chris shaking his head, Sharai? No. That's the general gut feeling I have, but we've also all said that 2 weeks changes a lot. So, you know, come Anfield, if we get 3 points there off the back of 2 more wins previously, league settings will look somewhat better, for sure. Champions League, we won't know until...
Well, the thing is, it's not just... last year it was 2 teams, wasn't it? This year, unfortunately, it's 4.
Well, so, Tottenham are just...
So if they take points off of each other and we get our act together... I'm not sitting here saying you've asked me a question. I said I don't think we'll win it because if we haven't got anyone to kill teams off, you're knackered.
But you're saying we can, but you just I agree.
We definitely can.
We 100% can.
We definitely can.
So I hope the football gods look kindly upon us for a change. And Partey might come back because he does speak with forked tongue, Arteta, when it comes to injuries. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Partey's lying up against Palace. I'm serious, or Forest, and he hits the. And he gives us 16 top-notch quality performances. Smith Rowe, you don't know, do you? That's the great thing about football. But being realistic,
very different.
We're not going to win it. We're not going to win the Champions League, please.
Chris has heard that enough.
Please.
No, I'm
not even luck of the draw, and then you take it to the final 1-off.
I don't want to go. I've been hearing people like us, the league judge, he said, that would be a good season, get to the final and get beat. No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd cry again, like I did last time we lost in the final.
European finals.
That one would be more heartbreaking than what happened at the end of last season.
Getting beaten is no.
I'm with you. Even though a favourable draw, I could see us into the semis final would be a stretch.
But again, look, I'm only saying that because of the current form we're in. This is not a question. A question of ability. This is a question of form.
And in Europe this season, every other season in Europa League,
we've looked great.
Yeah, we've been poor in Europa League, but this time round we've been poor per se in the league. Yeah. But in Europe, some of our best performances.
I suppose you could. I mean, Chelsea won it. They weren't a great team, but they did have
the Di Matteo team.
They did have Drogba up front.
Yeah,
but they won it with Havertz, Mount, and Werner.
Yeah, so you know, you can never say
maybe
never.
Maybe Tuchel was a gem after all, because I don't know how we managed.
I mean, that'd be wonderful. Without, I don't give a monkey's ass.
Yeah, I don't care what happens after that. We can get that one over the line. But listen, Chris, pleasure as always. Sharai, pleasure as always.
Thank you, bro.
People, hope you've enjoyed. Like I said, these were back-to-back shows, so if you've just watched this one, you haven't watched the last one, go watch the last one because they are connected. This has been part 2. First one is what's gone wrong. This one you've just watched here is our perception and how we can fix it, what we can do, what Arteta can do to get this season back on track. Because we all agree there's still something to play for. Whether we believe we can get over the line, that's another question, but that's a question to you guys and girls in the comment section below. Hit the like button, let's get to 1,000 likes. Make sure you're subscribed, a lot of content coming out. And the Premier League is back shortly, people. Winter break nearly done, and all the content will be coming thick and fast. Hit the like, love for the love, peace, we're out.